Hello, and welcome to the Capstone Project for Tammy Howe, Najel Dixon, and Hannah Dempsey. Our project will be on emergent literacy.
Emergent literacy is the stage where children learn the skills that are necessary to the development of literacy. It begins at birth and continues through the preschool years. Justice has identified 5 emergent literacy skills, and these include oral language, emergent writing, print knowledge, alphabet knowledge, and phonological awareness. Children that fail to acquire these skills tend to fall behind academically, and they stay behind throughout their academic career. This leads to reading and writing problems, and it also contributes to the national academic achievement gap. It's important that interventions be put into place before the child enters school. That way they do not fall behind academically and stay behind.
This July, we will be going to a language learning camp at Wiley Elementary School and working with parents of pre-K through 2nd graders that are receiving speech and language services. They are primarily low SES and African American and Latino. We will be teaching them emergent literacy strategies such as dialogic reading, print referencing, and literacy-enriched play. Our workshops will consist of introducing emergent literacy strategies, surveying the parents about their use of strategies currently and what they understand about shared reading, and providing them with informational pamphlets and charts to track their use of these techniques over a 4-week period. During the 2nd workshop, we will follow up about their use of the techniques over the 4-week period, as well as their feelings about shared reading strategies, and they will complete a 2nd survey. Our goal is that once we teach the parents the importance of emergent literacy strategies on the language and reading outcomes for their children in school, that they will begin to incorporate them into their everyday lives.
So the first strategy that we will be teaching our parents is dialogic reading. So what is dialogic reading? This is an evidence-based intervention that promotes children's active participation in reading interactions. It encourages the children to become storytellers. So this is not the parent simply reading each and every word in a book to the child. This is a parent engaging in conversation with the child, which helps to increase their overall literacy skills. A lot of studies have shown that dialogic reading improves alphabet and word knowledge as well as language and literacy skills. This can be implemented at home and at school, so parents and teachers can implement dialogic reading with children. They can do this by asking more questions while reading. For example, if you have a book, you can show them. Dialogic reading can be implemented in home or at the school, so teachers and parents can implement this strategy with their children. For example, teachers and parents can ask more questions while reading before they even read the page. So we have a page here out of the book. So I would simply ask the child, what's going on in this picture? What do you think is happening? There's a lot of food and crumbs everywhere. He's feeding his animals. So why do you think he did that? What led up to this? So these are some questions that you could ask your child while you're doing dialogic reading with them at home or in the school. The fundamental technique that should be used when parents and teachers are implementing the dialogic reading strategy is the PEER sequence. PEER stands for prompt, evaluate, expand, and repeat. So the adult would prompt the child to say something about the book first. Then they would evaluate the child's response. Next, they would expand the child's response by rephrasing it and adding more information to it, so adding that knowledge. And then they would repeat the prompt to make sure the child has learned from that expansion. In addition to the PEER sequence that should be used every time you participate in dialogic reading, we're also going to discuss some other dialogic reading strategies when we present to our parents. First, we'll talk about discussing the title of the book, asking open-ended questions such as what, where, when, and who, which is also great for teachers because Common Core has to focus on Bloom's taxonomy questions. We'll also talk about following child's answers with the question, then repeating and expanding what the child says, which also follows that peer sequence that we discussed earlier. Then the parents will have to give praise and encouragement because children love that, and it encourages them to keep on reading. And then following the child's lead and interest, because dialogic reading focuses on the child and not just a parent reading to the child. And most of all, we want our parents to have fun, so we're smiling, we're having fun while we're reading. A 2013 study with Sim and colleagues implemented a reading intervention for 70 plus 5 and 6 year old children. What they did was compare dialogic reading alone, dialogic reading with print referencing, which we will talk about in a few minutes, and an attention match control condition. So they compared the first two conditions with the control group that did not involve a reading intervention at all. Parents were trained for each of the conditions for dialogic reading and print referencing, and they were to use these strategies with their children for a period of 8 weeks. In the control groups, parents completed number learning activities with their children. And what the researchers found was that dialogic reading and print referencing had positive effects on children's language and literacy skills. Both groups showed greater gains in expressive vocabulary, rhyme, and concepts about print compared to the control group who just learned numbers. Also, these gains were maintained at a follow-up, which is about 6 months later, halfway into the school year.
The second reading strategy we plan to train parents with to implement at home with their children is print referencing.
Go.
Print referencing is a strategy, a reading strategy, that allows the use of explicit print terminology to encourage the child to figure out what they are learning from the book. Print referencing strategies that you can use with your child would be to look at the title of the book and discuss the title. Look at me in a funny hat. Talk about what this book might be about. And then you can also make comments about the words and letters on the page, such as, oh, what letter is this? Oh, what sound does this letter make? Those kind of things. You can also point to the words when talking about the story, such as, look at me. And make comments about rhyme. So when there's 2 words that rhyme, you could make the comment, oh, those 2 words rhyme, they sound the same. There are 8 print referencing strategies that you can implement at home. These print referencing strategies include discussing the title of the book, making comments about the words and letters on the page, posing questions about the words and letters, pointing to the words when talking about the story, tracking the words when reading, commenting about rhyme, commenting that some words start or end with the same sound, and talking about the letters. This strategy, print referencing, has been shown to increase children's print knowledge, which is an important literacy skill. So how can print referencing be implemented at home and in schools? Well, parents and teachers can use the print referencing strategies that we talked about, such as discussing the title of the book and so on, by using books in class. But sometimes parents don't have time to sit down and read with their child, so you can also use it looking at magazines while you're waiting in a waiting room, maybe at a doctor's office. You can use it with newspapers when you're sitting at the dining room table, or you could use a restaurant menu if you go out to eat. So it doesn't have to be a sit down and read this book to use in print referencing strategies. The study by Justice and her colleagues looked at print referencing strategies and read-alouds in classroom. There were 59 teachers involved in the study and 379 children. Their age ranges were between 3 years, 6 months, and 4 years, 11 months. For the intervention in this study, the teachers conducted whole class read-alouds 4 times per week for 30 weeks. This was the experimental group. The control group had the same time frame and still did read-aloud sessions. However, they did not use print referencing strategies. The intervention of the study was fairly controlled, as the teachers were provided with specific books, specific reading targets, and specific print referencing strategies that they were asked to use throughout each whole class session. The children were assessed before using print referencing strategies as well as after. The assessments that were used were the Self Preschool, the PALS Pre-K, and the PWPA. The findings showed that the children in the high dose of print referencing group, so the experimental group, showed higher levels of print knowledge after using the print referencing strategies in the whole class read aloud sessions, much higher than the comparison group.
The final strategy we will be teaching parents is literacy-enriched play. What is literacy-enriched play? It's the use of dramatic play activities that build upon familiar stories from books. Children are encouraged to reenact themes for books or expand upon storylines from the text. It's often used in conjunction with dialogic reading and/or print referencing. How does literacy-enriched play affect reading outcomes for children? It allows children to experiment with purposes for literacy that they've seen at home, such as using magazines or books. It builds upon comprehension by allowing children to act out familiar stories, and it encourages positive attitudes about reading. It can be implemented at home or in school. Parents can use costumes or props during shared reading activities or act out scenes from the book, and teachers can ask questions to encourage students to expand upon themes from the book and provide props and costumes related to specific stories. An example would be reading the book Three Little Pigs that has memorable repetitive language such as, little pig, let me in, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. And what the teacher would do is have a wolf mask that they can use, or little pig noses that the children can use that they can act out later when they get to the play center. An example of the use of some of these strategies would be that while reading or while playing after reading the Three Little Pigs, a child would have straw that they can say, this is the straw that I'm going to use to build my house. I'm the little pig, character portrayal, that builds a straw house. An integration of real and pretend could be, for example, my straw house is going to be built on Spring Garden Street. The study for literacy-enriched play was by Jody Welsh in 2008. She observed 2 veteran kindergarten teachers and 33 kindergarten students. During the intervention, Welsh observed teachers reading fantasy genre books with memorable repetitive language and easily identifiable props or objects 4 times a week. The teachers also encouraged students to engage in pretend play that related to the books. Teachers modeled the use of props during read-alouds, and children were provided with story-specific props during center time. Welsh found that each child was observed using some form of book-related play behaviors, such as connecting books and props, book interactions, reenactments, character portrayals, global themes, expansion and extension of story content, integration of real and pretend, and prop changes and additions during the course of the 6-week study. As you can see, literacy-enriched play is the ultimate culmination of all 3 emergent literacy strategies. For instance, a parent that chooses to do dialogic reading with their child will do read-alouds and ask their child questions about the theme and the content of the book. Then they can use print referencing and show the pictures and how that interacts with the text within the book. And then have fun by bringing play into it and portraying different characters and using props. All of these things help the child to develop positive attitudes about reading and to increase their reading comprehension and understanding.
As you can see from our presentation, research has shown that these 3 strategies are effective in improving children's emergent literacy skills. During the literacy summer camp that we're holding, we will train parents on how to implement these strategies at home. Our goal is that parents will have more confidence in their understanding of emergent literacy strategies and use of shared reading activities within them. So we want the parent to continue to use these strategies beyond the summer camp.
Amens and amen. How does, sorry, and she observed 2 veteran kindergarten teachers. I bet that.
And they can also use it, summer camp, and with their rising children.
It was trained parents for each condition